Back in 2016, I achieved my lifelong dream of becoming a published author, and soon after I realized the true struggle all authors have in finding book reviews. While I'm incredibly proud of what I've achieved as an indie author over the years, I'm just as proud of the indie books I've discovered and reviewed in that time also, because reading to me is everything. The escapism, the stories, the immersion, and even the magic that reading can be has brought me so much over the years, and so supporting fellow indie authors has become a duty just like my dedication to the written word. Welcome to Talking Indie Books with Lee Hall, an opportunity for me to showcase some wonderful indie books I've been reading. For this episode, I shall be reviewing one of my most recent reads, which I would happily define as accessible fantasy, entitled The Soulburn Talisman by David McIlroy, whom I have known for some time. David has achieved some incredible things over the years in terms of content creation, writing, and social media. For some time, he even launched and ran his very own social media platform designed for authors and those in the publishing world. He's got some awesome content online, which centers around helping fellow creatives and writers. The wonderful thing about connecting with fellow authors online like David is the opportunity it can present to find some wonderful books. And David reached out recently in search of an honest review for his new fantasy book. Now, for me personally, I struggle to read a lot of the fantasy genre due to its length, because I tend to struggle with longer reads. But David's fantasy, The Soulburn Talisman, was the perfect length for me, a little shy of 300 pages, so I was more than happy to take it on. So, let's dive into The Soulburn Talisman. Things begin with three classmates who are on a school trip and find themselves stumbling through a portal to another world known as Uland, or Uland. I hope I pronounced that right, but pronunciations aside, these three going through this portal realize they are very far from home, and so they embark on a journey of discovery. Now, it starts off that these three characters, they're not exactly close, and they are simply classmates, but throughout the journey, their character development basically steers them towards relying on each other and becoming closer and even friends by the end, which is one of the central messages in the book and a positive strength of the story. In fact, character development is prominent among all the major characters in the story. Of course, in this new world, there are magical woods people, fairies, trolls, knights, and some awesome settings, along with so much more, and we find our three heroes either being chased through these settings, helped in these settings, or even befriending those who reside in certain places. What they are doing in this fantastical world, well, we eventually find out, and along with the journey, they even realize that they all have distinct abilities and powers. And so, to quote my recent written review, as someone who doesn't read enough of this genre, I very much enjoyed the pace and accessible writing style this book has been written in. Sometimes fantasy can be a time investment alongside a weighty amount of definitions, names, and settings that take readers away from the story, but David McIlroy delivers this book well, and all of those things while keeping the flow and pages turning. This would make a perfect read for someone looking to take the plunge into fantasy for the first time, and even those who are a little younger. I would even add that this fantasy story has everything a reader needs to make it work. There's even some mystery and potential at the end for future books, where the adventure could easily continue, something I'd happily support. The length is perfect and makes for a refreshing change in the genre. Of course, there are a plethora of awesome quotes in this book, but this one stood out the most to me. As they left the mountain, Brooke finally understood what the feeling was inside her. It was one she'd known before, but it had never been as strong or as pure as it was now. She smiled all the way down, savouring it, enjoying its warmth, the surety of friendship. My rating for this book was 5 stars, and you can find my written review linked below. The Soulburn Talisman is currently available for pre-order and will be released on the 31st of May 2024. I'd like to thank David for giving me an advance copy in exchange for an honest review. And I'd like to thank all of you for watching this third episode of Talking Indie Books with Lee Hall. But have you heard about my Patreon? Videos like this exclusively premiere via Patreon first, alongside my many other resources such as marketing guides and even extended tutorials about finding success on social media as an author or creative. If you sign up as a Royal Rockstar or a Rockstar, you will have access to this stuff straight away. Anyway, that's my shameless plug done, and all I have left to say is this. Thank you for joining me, and of course, if you're reading something right now, remember to leave a review. Peace out, rock and roll, and reading indie books.